Okay. Everybody can hear me? Whoa, I can't see people. Okay, great. So this is the first time we're here at Cosmoverse. I realized that you have to do some rapping. I didn't prepare for that. Is it okay? All right, good. Okay, so, yes, good. All right, so our project is Babylon, and our goal is to bring Bitcoin security to Cosmos. Before I explain what that means, let me, since this is the first time we're here, let me just give a brief introduction to who we are. Okay, so I'm from Stanford. We have a research lab which does security design and analysis of consensus protocol. And I'm really glad that this morning there were so many talks and attention to security, okay? Because that's all we do at Stanford, to design secure protocols where the security can be proven with a formal proof. So just to give an example of a project that we've been recently working on is this project of attacking and defending proof-of-stake Ethereum. So as we all know, the merge has happened already. But actually, 2 years before the merge, our lab discovered an attack on the beacon chain Ethereum protocol. And that was 2 years ago. We reported to Vitalik and his team at the Ethereum Foundation. No reply. No reply. And then a few months later, we found another attack, this one much easier to mount with very, very little stake. And then we got a reply. The reply was Vitalik have redesigned the beacon chain protocol to include a technique called proposal boosting. And then at that point, he said, hey, let's start collaborating, and maybe your group, us, can prove that his proposal was secure. However, unfortunately, instead of proving it secure, we found more attacks on the protocol. And as we find more attacks, they find more fixes. So it just keeps on going back and forth. So where does this end? When does this end? Well, the good news is that just a few weeks ago, we finally came up with a design which is very close to the existing design, but not the same, which we can prove is secure. Prove is secure means no attack is possible anymore. The bad news is we didn't make it before the merge. So the one that was merged is actually not provably secure. On the other hand, there are no known attacks on that either. Hopefully, they will replace that protocol with our protocol in the Shanghai merge. That's the hope. Okay, so that's sort of a rough background that we do serious analysis and design of secure protocol. And I think that's in line with the Cosmos community, because Tendermint, the workhorse of Cosmos, is actually a protocol that came with a formal proof of security. So I think we're in line here. All right, so about 9 months ago, end of last year, we came up with some ideas on, and then we formed this team called Babylon. And this is the team. The research core is from Stanford. Our engineering team is headed by Fisher, our CTO. And these are engineers from all over the world with a lot of experience in layer 1 design. And we have our advisors. Of course, I would like to point out Zaki. So, you know, we thought, before today, we thought we're the only project that Zaki advises. We thought, wow, we're special, man. And then to this morning, I realized, oh, we're one of the many projects he advises. But nevertheless, he gave us some really good advice, and really enjoyed interacting with him. We're lucky that we also live in the same town in Palo Alto. All right. Okay, so we have 5 team members in addition to myself, 4 other guys here. So if you see them, please say hi. And we have a demo booth also in that very, very crowded space over there. Okay, so maybe now let's get to the main point. What are we trying to do here? So our goal is to bring Bitcoin security to Cosmos. So what's the thesis? There are two theses here. One is that Bitcoin is here to stay. You may like it or you may not like it, but it's here. It's not going to go away soon. And it's a really, really secure, demonstrably secure, a lot of hash power. And what we want to do is to say, hey, it's kind of a waste to just have it isolated by itself. Let's try to bring its security to help with the rest of the blockchain ecosystem. So which ecosystem is the question? We looked around different ecosystems, and we identified this one. Oh, no surprise here. I'm standing here talking. So that's the second thesis, which is the app chain thesis that we really believe in. And I believe this kind of ecosystem will really also benefit from the security that one can derive from Bitcoin. And so our project is really how to extract, in the best way, security from Bitcoin to benefit the entire Cosmos ecosystem. And after several iterations, we came up with an architecture which involves building a new Cosmos zone called Babylon, which will extract security from Bitcoin and will distribute that security to all the Cosmos zones that are interested in through our favorite IBC. Okay? So that's the very high-level view of the project. So as I mentioned, that all our work is based on formal security analysis and design, and this project is no exception. And the base of this project is a paper we just wrote. It's a technical paper, really on exploring the question that if you have a chain like Bitcoin, what is the maximum amount of security that you can extract from it to benefit proof-of-stake chains? And we call it possibilities and impossibility, because we show that there are some stuff that is not possible to do, stuff that's possible to do, and our protocol that we designed, Babylon, the protocol achieves what is optimal. So this is kind of our theoretical basis of the project. And from this theoretical basis, we identified and are working on multiple concrete use cases of how to exploit this security. And I won't go through all of them, but I would like to highlight, for example, this protocol of ours actually is able to provide increased censorship resistance or stalling resistance to Cosmos zones. So Cosmos zones have a 1/3 resilience. That means if 1/3 of the adversary decides not to vote, they can censor transactions. What we can do is we can improve it using this protocol, improve it to 1/2, which means it's now the same level as proof of work. So this is the kind of use cases we can achieve. But today, just to emphasize on one concrete one, I will talk about this one, and instead of me talking, we created a video to demonstrate this. All right, so let's see if this video actually works.
In a blockchain, blocks are validated through primarily one of two mechanisms, proof of work or proof of stake. Each has strengths and weaknesses. For example, a proof of work chain like Bitcoin is extremely secure, but it also consumes lots of energy and has a slow confirmation rate. Proof of stake is faster and more energy efficient due to the fact its validators stake tokens instead. On the surface, this appears to make proof of stake a more attractive option, but it's not quite so simple. Because of the lack of work to support its security, proof of stake chains have many more attack vectors than proof of work chains. Through intensive research, the design of proof of stake protocols has been improved to repel many of these attack vectors. But one attack vector remains: stake reuse attack. All proof of stake chains suffer from this attack. This is where an attacker can reuse its stake to build an attack chain after unstaking on the correct chain. The solution to this is called social consensus, where the community of users agree on the correct chain before unstaking is allowed. However, this is far from rigorous and very slow, meaning validators who want to unstake tokens can wait a long time, typically 21 days for a Cosmos zone. Suddenly, proof of stake doesn't feel quite as fast or efficient. An alternative to social consensus is the use of an external secure blockchain to timestamp proof of stake blocks. This way, the correct chain is established as rigorously as the chain with the earlier timestamps. For example, a secure blockchain like Bitcoin can confirm a timestamp in a matter of hours, meaning unstaking can happen much faster. Unfortunately, Bitcoin's low throughput is a major barrier to this happening for many proof-of-stake chains, and mass adoption of this technique would undoubtedly cause major scalability issues. But what if we could remove this barrier and make the best of both worlds to create a better blockchain? Babylon, a timestamp aggregation service which bridges the security of Bitcoin to multiple proof-of-stake consumer chains at the same time. Designed to transform the way proof-of-stake chains communicate with Bitcoin. Babylon works by aggregating the timestamps of multiple proof-of-stake consumer chains and then uniquely submitting them as one to Bitcoin. The size of these Bitcoin stamps is also minimized through cryptographic techniques, meaning the footprint of Babylon on the Bitcoin network is extremely small and does not scale with the number of consumer chains. The outcome? A brand new solution that combines the energy efficiency and speed of proof of stake with the enhanced security of proof of work. Babylon, the future of proof of stake.
All right. What do you think of that British accent? You like it? We paid extra for it, man. Hope you like it. All right. Okay, so now let's do a little bit of a deep dive before I finish. So this is the architecture of Babylon, and it consists of 3 types of chains. 1, Bitcoin, the provider chain, security provider. 2, Babylon zone, which is a Cosmos zone. 3, all the other Cosmos zones that uses the security. Now, there's a division of labor across these 3 layers, which I want to highlight, because that will help to understand the role of our technology. So, the Cosmos zones have their own validator set. They do the normal thing, ordering and execution. Okay? Bitcoin is a timestamping service. It timestamps, but it timestamps important transactions. So the ordering of regular transactions is done by the individual Cosmos zones. The Bitcoin is done to do timestamping on the important transactions. So in some sense, it's a shared security between the Bitcoin and the Cosmos zone, but the sharing is a light type of sharing. So what are examples of important transaction? From the video earlier, the stake withdrawal request is the important transaction. So that request is now timestamped on Bitcoin, and when it's confirmed, then the stake withdrawal can happen. So another important transaction, for example, if a transaction is censored on a Cosmos zone, then a Cosmos validator can send that transaction, timestamp it onto Bitcoin, and keep that transaction alive. So that's another use case of an important transaction. And there are many other examples, which I have no time to go through. So you may ask, hey, what's the role of Babylon zone? The role of Babylon zone is to basically aggregate all these checkpoints across so many Cosmos zones. We're hoping that eventually many Cosmos zones will use the service, and this Babylon zone will allow the aggregation, as was described in the video. So through this aggregation, timestamps of transactions on each Cosmos zone is obtained in an efficient manner. Okay. All right. So I forgot a very important point, though. Whoa. Which is, okay, so how is this checkpointing done? Well, we discovered something quite amazing may be known already to some people in the Cosmos community. But actually, inter-blockchain communication, a bread and butter of the Cosmos ecosystem, is actually a natural checkpointing mechanism. Checkpointing mechanism. And I would like to highlight that because I think that is of interest, broader than just for Babylon. So let me highlight that point. So there's a more technical slide. So IBC, what is IBC? Is a communication from the sender zone to the receiver zone. It has two layers, transport layer and application layer. Now, how is IBC achieved at the transport layer? Well, it is achieved by sending from the sender zone signed header of the sender blocks into the ledger of the receiver zone. This is the light client. Okay? So therefore, to achieve IBC, the receiver zone should maintain a light client of the sender zone. Basic knowledge of IBC. But a light client is precisely a set of signed headers, and that's exactly the checkpoints. So we come to this quite interesting fact, which is the fact that the receiver zone maintains a light client of the sender zone means that the headers of the sender zone are automatically checkpointed at the receiver zone. And we apply this in Babylon because once we obtain the checkpoint on Babylon, so Babylon is the receiver zone, then through the aggregation, you can get timestamp onto Bitcoin. Okay? All right. All right. So you may ask, okay, if you are a Cosmos zone, how do you integrate with Babylon and get Bitcoin security? Okay, so first, you should open an IBC connection between your zone and Babylon. Through the IBC zone, you are checkpointing signed headers, and you're receiving Bitcoin timestamps with proof. And then we will give you a module, two modules. One is a new module, timestamp processor, which allows you to process these timestamps and reinterpret them. Two, we give you a modification of the unbonding of the staking module so that you can now use Bitcoin timestamp instead of waiting for 21 days to unbond. So that's roughly how the integration would happen. All right. Now, this design requires some trust on Babylon. And if you're really nervous, then you could actually run a monitor program which allows you to minimize the trust on Babylon, only trust on Bitcoin. All right. Okay. So we worked hard in the past few months. Fisher and his team worked really hard on building the MVP. So what is the MVP that we built? So the MVP that we built is the square, which is Babylon zone checkpointing onto Bitcoin. This MVP meant to demonstrate two aspects of our technology. One, how we can efficiently timestamp onto Bitcoin. Using aggregate signature and epoch rotation, we reduce the footprint into 2 Bitcoin transactions every 30 minutes. 2 Bitcoin transactions every 30 minutes. Very, very small footprint. Second, we want to eat our own dog food. So Babylon is now playing a role of a Cosmos zone that get benefit from these timestamp to do fast unbonding. So that is the MVP that we built. And if you go to the demo booth next door, you will see that right now, Babylon is actually checkpointing to Bitcoin mainnet and enjoying fast unbonding right now. So if you look at the numbers, then you will see that our unbonding time is, at this moment, I think about 3.5 hours. Okay? And we'll be very happy to discuss with you more details of the project at the demo booth. We're really interested in looking for partners who will work with us and integrating with us, test out various use cases that we're interested in, maybe find new use cases that are of interest to the Cosmos zone, etc. All right. So you can go on the website. We have more information, blogs, videos, etc. And then you can also follow us for updates on Twitter. Thank you very much.